For the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
John Barrera,
Here.
Jake Coverstone.
Here.
Amanda Howell.
Here.
Les Kinder.
Here.
Pam Wright.
Here.
All present.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second,
Roll call.
Les Kinder.
Yeah.
Jake Coverstone.
yes.
John Barrera,
Yes.
Pam Wright.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I wanted to discuss on that one real quick because we added an item
Okay,
today.
yeah.
So if you notice, the agenda that we sent out last Friday did not have personnel consent. So section 11S was not on there for what we sent out Friday, but it is on there for this meeting today. So that would be what was added to that would be my resignation at the end of this school year was added to the agenda today. So, okay.
Okay.
That was the only change we had.
Thank you. Public comments. I see we have one person that is signed up. Did anyone miss signing up for public comments? Okay, Sarah,
You can stand up.
whatever you're comfortable with.
My name is Sarah Fine. I attended the January board meeting and listened to the Penn family's appeal to remove the book Ted and Me from the elementary library. First, I want to commend and thank William for attending the meeting and having the courage to share his experience and concerns. It's incredibly impressive to see a young person involved in public discourse. I also want to add that while he and his family might feel frustrated that they didn't get their desired outcome, I think they have prompted an important conversation and brought awareness for families that share their beliefs. Those families might now implement new guidelines in their homes for monitoring books checked out from the library and have conversations with their children on what types of materials align with their family values. I came tonight because I wanted to share a different perspective with the board. From 1st through 6th grade, I attended a private parochial school. You can probably make the connection that I was raised in a religious home, but what you might not assume is that I had free reign when it came to reading material. I was a voracious reader from a very early age, and by the end of 3rd grade, I was reading at an 11th grade level. There were no limits to what I could check out from the school library, the Troy library, or from my mother's shelves at home. I'm sure there are those who would have grave concerns about the results of this freedom. But what this freedom actually resulted in was wonderful formative conversations with my mom, where we discussed world issues, controversial subjects, historical events, different cultures, and my mother's faith and belief system and how it applied to all of these. This freedom resulted in an expansive vocabulary and elevated reading comprehension, which encompasses language understanding, context clues, word decoding, and analyzation. It made me a better speller, it ignited curiosity and creativity, and helped me develop critical thinking skills. What I think is most important, though, is that it introduced me to diverse perspectives. This allowed me to develop empathy and understanding for people and situations I likely would never have come across had I not met them in a book, and it deepened my appreciation for different lived experiences. It's an unfortunate truth that kids are looking at screens more than they're reading books these days. Teachers and parents often feel like they're having to pull teeth to get students to read, and I believe we run the risk of losing more readers when their interests are not represented on the shelves in the library. I feel very strongly that the school board made the correct decision in reading this book for themselves and then consulting with library professionals and literacy advocates before coming to the decision to allow the board to remain in the library. To the Penn family and those that share their beliefs, I fully support parents' right to monitor and limit what is read in their home. However, I fear that removing books from our libraries undermines the right of every parent to make a choice about what's right for their children.
Thank you. Okay, next is the election of the vice president. Just so folks know why we're having to do this again, in the January meeting, we had 2 votes for Jake Coverstone, and then we had one vote for a different candidate, well, for two different candidates, and we need to have three votes in total for the vice president candidate. So here we are again, now that we are a five board member team. So with that being said, do we have a nomination for the vice president of the Board of Education? I'll nominate Jake Coverstone. Any other nominations? Do we have a first and second motion?
Motion for one,
Close.
to close.
To close that,
I'll
yes.
Make a motion to close.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call, please.
John Moreira.
Is that a yes? or
You can
a-
just say Jake Coverstone.
Okay, Jake Coverstone.
Jake Coverstone,
Jake Coverstone.
Amanda Howell,
Jake Coverstone.
Wes Kinder,
Jake.
and Pam Rice.
Jake Coverstone.
Jake Coverstone was elected board vice president. And since we already didn't print off a new. But I'll pull up the oath of office. We're gonna have you redo the oath of office.
January agenda.
Can we come back to that later in the meeting, and then we'll do the office.
Okay.
What we adjourn tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, superintendent's good news informational report.
All right, so we have a few things to go over and a presentation here in just a moment as well. So first, I want to start off with our FFA member of the month. The Miami East MVCTC FFA member of this month is Alec Fine. He is a junior and a third-year member of our FFA chapter. His parents are Eric and Amanda Fine of Troy. I'm going to pull his picture up there real quick, Alex. I like it because his picture is not only with his tractor, but if you notice what's in his hand, FFA sells peanuts and different things as well throughout the year. So that is what he has displaying in his picture as well. So he's applied for his state FFA degree, and his application has been forwarded to the state for further evaluation. He's a member of the Agricultural Power Diagnostics Career Development Event Team, which will compete at the district level in the near future. His supervised agricultural experience consists of job placement at Hart Family Farms, where he helps with crop production, equipment repair, and maintenance. So I want to congratulate Alec on being this month's FFA member of the month. And I know this month is almost over, so the next one will be announced pretty soon, but still wanted to congratulate him for February. I was a little nervous the other day. FFA had a spirit week. What was that, Mr. Jennis? Last week was their spirit week, and one of the days was anything but a backpack. And I see him in the morning with a little mini dirt bike in the hallway for his backpack for the day. He reassured me that it did not run and it would not be riding through the hallways. So I want to congratulate him and his family for that accomplishment. Next item that we have, so we have some representatives, Laura and Eric, with us from Garmin Miller. Garmin Miller is an architect and engineering firm that we have contracted with to do a feasibility assessment for the district. And the feasibility assessment is going to be looking at all district facilities, but an emphasis on the board office and the board gym. As our strategic planning committee presented back in January, one of the facility goals was this feasibility assessment. And then there's also, what are we going to do with the board office? So to help us make some informed decisions, they're going to explain what this process is going to be like, provide some information to the board and those that are here this evening. And then we will be having a community event that'll be planned probably April, May is when we're kind of looking at a time frame to have a community event to discuss our facilities. So, all right, Alex, you want to pull that up? Okay. All right. So whenever you guys are ready.
Thank you. My name's Derek Baltzell. I'm one of the principals at Garmin Miller. I'm actually filling in for Chris Monon, who's another principal that had a family matter today that he had to attend to. We have Laura.
I'm Laura Little, project manager.
Next slide, please. So just tell you a little bit more about Garmin Miller Partners in Education. We were founded in Minster, Ohio. If you're all familiar with Minster, 1993 was when we were founded, and that paired also with the time that the state of Ohio was coming up with the school funding program and the design manual. And so we got in early in that program, working with school districts, and that's really been our focus over these 30 plus years is in K through 12 education. We now have 4 offices in Ohio and worked with many districts around the state. And next slide, please. Thank you. We've been really intentional then as we've built our company to be a one-stop shop for K-12 school districts when it comes to facilities planning and design and construction. So we've added all these disciplines in-house. So in addition to architecture and interior design, we have electrical, mechanical, technology, civil engineering. We have a full communication marketing team because we understand the importance of the community engagement piece that we'll talk about later. So really trying to have all those services. So, you know, we focus on partnerships, not projects. We just want to be a resource from anything from you need a re-roof done and you need some professional guidance. If you need a asphalt mill and fill, you know, we help with all those things, as well as, you know, building projects. Next slide, please. Just showing you that we do work with a number of districts close by around your area. Actually, I was just at Graham Schools last night for their board meeting. So we're entering a master planning process with them as well.
And then one of the schools that's not on there, one of the reasons we got connected is I was at our state superintendent organizational meeting in October and heard them talk about their presentation or what they did, their partnership with Marion Local and the community of Marion Local to get a project passed through them too. So another one that was pretty recent in the area.
Next slide.
Excited to work with you on your strategic plan and your feasibility study. We've talked about the priority right now is taking a look at that 1958 district building, but it's more than just your district offices. It also holds many of your athletic and community events. So we're going to work with you to consider what are the financial items between if you were to renovate versus if you were to build new. And then also continuing to engage the community. Next slide. So what that specifically, our specific scope then on this project, we're going to work with your facility task force to come up with what is your program of requirements. Not really sure yet if you have some spaces in the board office building that maybe are underutilized. If you were to build new, would you need all of those spaces? That's what we're going to be going through with the program of requirements. But we're also going to engage the community. Talk to them, find out more what are their priorities for your district, And then come back, meet with your facility task force. Trying to get from them, what are the goals? What are we gonna focus on? We're gonna do a feasibility study of that 1958 building. And then from that, put together some costs. And continue having, the facilities task force, continue having conversations with them. Next slide.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about our process, what that looks like. If you go to the next slide, please. We call it for you, by you. And that's because every district's different, every situation is different of what you're hoping to accomplish. So we tailor our process to fit you. But there's three things that we feel are important to always remain the same, and that's to have an open process that's, transparent to the community, and that we're being very conscious about accuracy and the information and the things that we're presenting, and really coming in with no predetermined outcomes, just, presenting the data, having the conversation with you and your community to just sort through, where do you want to go with things? Next slide, please. So how we accomplish that, we have these 4 groups. So of course, you all as the Board of Education, the ultimate decision makers. Executive committee is usually made up of some administrative people that we're meeting with on a more regular basis, just to, schedule meetings, work together on getting invites out and those sort of things. Facilities task force is a key piece. We highly recommend that you have a task force built up of community members, cross-sectional representation of your community, really giving us a sampling of, the sentiment out there. So, a lot of times that's 20 to 30 people that comprise a task force, and we're meeting with them on a routine basis. Usually, there'll be a meeting, and then there might be a few weeks to put together more information that they need, come back for another meeting. And then, of course, the community. So we'll have a variety of ways we can engage with the community, from everything, from in-person meetings to, utilizing different channels of social media or your website to get information out. But if you notice the arrows, that's just emphasizing that the communication flow, it's not just a downward, it's also, we want that feedback from the community, from the task force, and bringing that all to you as a board. Presenting what we're hearing and what the task force is recommending. Next slide, please. So yeah, just emphasizing, that task force is a really important piece. They're really champions of the effort, as they are going out, talking to family and friends and, sharing what's happening in the process. They're hearing from those people, they're bringing it back to the task force meetings. It's just a really effective way to keep a pulse on what the community wants and guide us through the process. Next slide. So whenever you think about the steps, that we call it the 3D process, there's really 3 stages: define, discover, and develop. Next slide. And then the first stage of define, that's really, sometimes we call it hopes, fears, dreams, but it's just having a conversation about what's top of mind. When you think about the board office building, what do you want us to be focused on? What concerns do you have? What do you hope comes out of all this? We're really just trying to establish priorities, some guiding priorities to guide us through the process. Next slide.
So then this is where we're gonna get into more of that programming, taking a look at what needs do you have for the building. We're also gonna be taking a look at your existing facility. Next slide. And that's where we're gonna do a 23-point facility assessment, where we really can dive into each one of those items and take a look at what is your, are any of these systems at end of life? I'm gonna guess many might be, near end of life. And so that's where we can look at each one of those items. What life do you have left in your roofing? When would you need to replace it? What might that cost be? So then we can pull together costs on all of these items, and you can take a look at what would it cost to continue to keep the building moving along versus building it. Next slide. And then we're gonna go through and get to the fun part where we get to start creating some options. Pulling together, what does this look like if we renovate the building or if we build new? Come back to you and your task force and talk about what that might be, what those costs might be, redefined in the back and forth process. Next slide. So trying to put together a schedule for this, what to expect. First of all, we're gonna have that community meeting, talk about what your priorities are, and then come back and have that conversation with your task force afterwards. Really dive into what did we hear from the community, what is gonna be what we're studying, and what are some tasks that maybe you're taking on, that aren't necessarily part of this study. But that's what we're gonna get from you in the next 1 to 4 months. At the same time, these are not necessarily in order, but at the same time, our team is gonna come take a look at the 1958 building, and start putting together, what do we see in the building? What might those costs be? Should come back and share that with you as well. And then we get to the fun part and get to, start doing some design and pulling together some costs and getting that feedback from you as well.
So this isn't really a 13-month end-to-end engagement.
No, it's
I mean,
not.
some of these activities can happen in parallel.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yes, if there's any questions.
Yeah, and I think what I like about this and what our strategic planning committee talked about, which several of you are here this evening, so I appreciate your continued support with that. But we talked about making smart financial decisions. And for those of you that maybe are new and haven't been to some of our meetings where we've had a few conversations, the board office, it did open right around 1958. The board gym is an original roof. That roof leaks when it rains hard. The flat roof leaks in multiple areas. Some of it's still graveled roof, some of it is not. And when the wind blows, we get new pieces in the parking lot. So there's definitely a roofing need. So for us, there's multiple decisions. Do we make a short-term maintenance repair? Do we make a 20 or 30-year maintenance repair? So that's what this assessment is going to help us determine before we just spend some money to make some fixes. What's the long-term purpose of that building? What's the long-term needs of our community as far as facilities go? So when I heard that presentation at Marion Local and I spoke to their superintendent, it was all about involving the community in this conversation, because just because we might have an idea or we might have some thoughts with it, it's going to take the community support and community buy-in no matter what decision we make. If it's a renovation, we're obviously going to start renovating that board roof's going to have to be done soon, because with this big heavy snow, we walked in and there's leaks in about 4 or 5 different places. It was just dripping everywhere. So there are obviously some main repairs that need to happen, whether it's, like I said, a 4 or 5 year repair or it's a 30-year roof. We're going to have to make some of those financial decisions here soon. So I appreciate you being here this evening and appreciate the process. So.
Can you talk a bit about I think it was hopes, fears, and dreams meetings? I mean, because I think that's open to the community,
Yep.
correct? I mean, where anyone can participate and provide feedback to you all. Can you talk a bit about that, like what that typically looks like?
Yeah, a lot of times we'll first meet with the task force. It doesn't have to necessarily be that way, but work with them on the hopes, fears, dreams, and establishing some priorities. And that helps kind of guide then a community meeting that follows. Hey, the task force met. Here's kind of what's on top of mind for them. Do you think we missed anything as a task force? And then a lot of times, we'll have feedback from the community in that in-person meeting. Then a lot of times then we'll have the priorities, either some sort of voting system. Sometimes we have them up on the wall in sheets and they go around and put stickers on the vote. We've done electronic voting, but just getting feedback from the community on ranking what those priorities are to them, where they fall as far as priority level.
And Eric, in terms of the facilities task force, I mean, it sounds what we had called before a facilities committee.
Yep.
I mean, what does that timing of that forming look like?
Yeah. So what we're ultimately looking at, originally we were thinking about having this community meeting in the middle of March, but with timing of things, we're looking at pushing it back, like you said, April, May. My goal would be that in the next couple weeks or next week or two, that we're developing this facilities committee. There were some people that were on our strategic planning committee that expressed interest in being in a subcommittee that I'll reach out to and then get feedback as well from the board, because I thought we had, again, for those of you that were in our group, I thought we had good representation of people from our community, whether it was parents, community members. But that's what we're looking for, again, is that diverse group that's going to bring multiple perspectives. So, it'll be the same thing. I'll probably bring a list to you guys and then get some feedback on, is there something we're missing or somebody that needs to be added?
And did I see or hear that correctly, that that'll be around 25 to 30 people?
For that task force, somewhere in that 20 range,
Okay.
would be the ideal goal. Mhm.
Anybody else have questions, comments?
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Appreciate you
Yep.
being here. So the next item C on there, just an advertisement. We have our 38th annual senior citizen dinner. It'll be on Wednesday, March 18th at 5:30 here in the high school cafeteria. There is a flyer that's attached to that. I think RSVPs are due by March 11th is when we have RSVPs due by. I think that's the day we have to order our food. It's always a great event. We're looking forward to hosting that again this year. Item D, Viking Fest will be coming up soon. So Miami East Education Foundation does a great job supporting our staff and our students, and this is a big fundraiser for them. So that'll be on Saturday, March 7th. I believe doors open or it begins around 10 and ends at 3. Those of you that have been here, setup will start extremely early, and we'll have a long day of fun activities for our kids. Junior class quarter auction for after prom. That'll be on March 1st in the high school gym. Again, doors open at 1. The event starts at 2. The attachment on there also is a flyer for that event. An item I didn't add to it, that we're getting some more information rolling out here soon, though. Our high school musical, or our musical, because it's not always just high school, but our musical this year is Grease. The performance dates on that are March 20th at 7, March 21st at 7, and then Sunday, March 22nd at 2:30. There'll be a link coming out soon from Hometown Ticketing to order tickets for each of those events. So our kids are working really hard. I think what I heard was, I think it was a 12-foot car is what Miss Hurst told me they're going to have on stage this year. So I think that it'll be our kids always do a really good job, and looking forward to that. So as far as newsletter go, we're trying to finalize our newsletter. It should be getting that final proof here in the next day or so. We'll have some of these advertisements in that mailing newsletter that'll be going out here shortly as well. All right, and that's all I had for that report.
Thank you. All right, moving to the treasurer's consent agenda.
All right, tonight for the treasurer's consent agenda, I have 3 items to recommend for approval. First, we have recommended approval of the January 12th, 2026 organizational meeting minutes. Also recommended approval of the January 12th, 2026 regular board meeting minutes. And lastly, I would like to recommend approval of the February 2026 financial packet as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
Motion. I'll second.
All right, so for the financial packet, clicking back and forth too many times, but okay. So for the financial report, I'm just going to go over a couple of items for you guys this evening. So the summary of all funds as of January 31st, fiscal year total revenues were $12,499,255, which is slightly down from $12,711,000 1 year ago. Total expenditures from all funds through January 31st, $13,703,000, which is slightly up from $13,642,000 1 year ago. Then just going to the general fund, our revenues were $10,912,000 compared to 9,900,000 or 10,927,000 1 year ago. And then our general fund expenditures were 11,542,000 compared to 10,903,000 1 year ago. Just looking at the spending plan summary, which is tied directly to the 5-year forecast, line 2.080, which is total revenues and other financing sources, are short of our fiscal year to date estimates by 178,000, and total expenditures and other financing uses, which was 11,542,000, are under our fiscal year to date estimates of 11,625,000. Some of those are going to shift a little bit over this next month, and I'll try to get everything updated accordingly. But one of the things that we did this last month was we requested some advances of taxes that had been collected. So we received a deposit of 3.5 million on last Friday, and we're expected to get another 1.4 this upcoming Friday. And so what that is our tax settlements that we were supposed to get in March, we're actually getting those in February. So then our February numbers are going to look slightly inflated just for a month in terms of maybe not on the spending plan, because I'll get those updated for you all, but in terms of looking at our revenues year over year, it's going to be higher than what it had been in years past. So a portion of that is just to, collect that money from the county as soon as it's available to us, because then we're able to draw a little bit of extra interest on that. Jumping down a little bit further, it's really hard to see on that screen, but looking at this financial, this is actually the spending plan where it talks about the month over month, or like our month to date actuals and our year to date actuals. I guess this month I probably won't go too much into depth with it, because later this evening we're going to have another 5-year forecast. But that's where some of those numbers above come from, is from this spending plan here. Then just looking at those charts, you'll see that our cash balance has definitely stayed pretty much in line with where we've been last year. Our revenues and our expenditures are both very much in line with what we've expected thus far. Does anybody have any questions with the financial packet? Or anything that you want me to go more in depth in?
Thank you. Roll call.
Les Kinder,
Yes.
John Barrera,
Yes.
Jake Coverstone,
Yes.
Pam Rose.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next, for the treasurer's report, we have item A, which is recommended approval of grants and donations. So tonight we had 6 grants and donations from the month of January to approve. We received a $200 donation from Cutting Edge LLC to the Food Service Fund to support student lunch balances. We received an $11,645 donation from the Doris W. McMillan Trust to the Band Activity Fund. We've also received an $11,645 donation from the Doris W. McMillan Trust to the FFA Student Activity Account. We received a $200 donation from Gordon and DeSantis Orthodontics to the Elementary Principals Fund for Mrs. Gentis's classroom. A $150 donation from Rachel Latimer to the Class of 2027 Student Activity Account. And lastly, we received a $200 donation from Fletcher Community Church to the National Honor Society Student Activity Account.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the grant donations?
I so moved. Second. I'll do just a second. As always, we just want to thank the various donors for their contributions to Miami East. The Doris W. McMillan Trust, they're able to make so many donations, or to so many different organizations throughout the year. And so, we tried to work closely with the Music Boosters to ensure that, so rather than the trust making a donation to the Music Boosters, they made the donation to the school district so that it was under the same tax ID as the FFA student activity account. And so we were able to get, take advantage of the generosity from Doris McMillan, and the trustee is Bill Moat. And I know that you guys have probably heard of him and talked to him previously, so just very thankful for the many things that that's able to contribute to. They're doing several upgrades to the concession stand out at the football stadium. So buying new refrigerators and racks and things to keep food items warm. So wonderful things going on there.
Roll call.
Pam Rice?
Yes.
Dave Coverstone?
Yes.
John Barrera?
Yes.
Les Kinder? Amanda Hell?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item B tonight, we have approval of transfers. So we have a transfer of $500 from the Camp Joy student activity account to the general fund, and then a transfer of $500 from the general fund to the junior high principals fund.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the transfers?
Motion.
I'll second.
The reason for this is because the principals fund paid a down payment for the Camp Joy trip, and then this is a repayment of the down payment because they were able to collect enough funds.
Okay. Any questions? Roll call.
Les Kinder?
Yes.
Pam Rice?
Yes.
John Barrera?
Yes.
Dave Coverstone?
Yes.
Amanda Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed. And then item C is the approval of the financial forecast due on February 28th, 2026.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve?
Motion. I'll second.
Right. So the financial forecast better than it was previous. So kind of when we had planned super conservatively for how the real estate, how the reappraisal was going to affect us, it's kind of worked in our benefit. Like, I think there was a time where I was a little nervous that it was going to hit worse than what it actually is going to, and some of that has to do with the deflator and what all they were allowed to do. I guess the one other change is that the county did do the additional exemption. And so that has been reflected within this forecast as well. Last time it was still.
And I'm just now back on.
Okay.
It allowed me to take over as host again. So I know the camera wouldn't go and I was also the audio, so we wouldn't have had audio, but I know you're still recording. So we are still moving forward.
Is my screen shared?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're still sharing the screen.
So I guess, rather than going through 18 pages of the 5-year forecast, can I talk about anything specific for anybody or answer any specific questions?
Our property tax on the one that shows for next Disney event, is that because of that 1.6 that we voted last month?
No, so good question. The 5-year forecast is only a representation of the general fund. And so when the board voted to reduce that millage, both of those were in the bond retirement funds. And so those decreases are not reflected here. The biggest reason for that dip in FY 27 is just the timing of when they're able to do the credits from the House Bill 186 impacts. So I know that people's property tax bills went up a little or significantly based on the reappraisal. And all of that happened before the 90-day period of House Bill 186 going into effect. And so if people paid more than what they were supposed to, it's just different. It'd be great if school districts operated on a calendar year basis, because we receive all of our property taxes within that same calendar year, and you'd see a more stable increase. But because we operate on a July 1st to June 30th fiscal year, that first half property tax settlement's gonna hit. And then there's gonna be that adjustment for the second half of the property tax year, but it's gonna be in our next fiscal year. So it's gonna look a little weird, but I can try to, as we get a little bit more information from the county, I can share that out with the board and bring it to one of the board meetings and share with everyone as well.
Also, what happened to that on the financials that we were possibly had to move financials around? What happened to that bill with the state?
That specifically was about the cash balance carryover, and that did not go through at this point. So while we had some discussions on establishing those like capital improvement funds, I think that the feasibility assessment and trying to work towards a capital plan is a good step in that right direction. And hopefully by them not voting that through at this time, hopefully that gave us a little bit more time to be able to get a firm capital facilities plan. And then at that point, I think it would be very smart for the board, for the district to consider some of those things just to plan for the future. I know at times, when we're looking at a $1 million cash carryover, that's really great. I know at times it's like, oh, okay, well, the expenditures don't necessarily line up. But also what we've seen or what we've done historically is we have had a cash balance carryover from year to year. And it allowed the board to be able to have classroom additions at the elementary and junior high, and then also do the field turf project without going to the voters. And so I think that where we're at financially kind of gives the board a little bit of flexibility moving forward. As of right now, I haven't heard any more about that cash balance here over hitting again. So if it does, then we'll need to move a little bit more quickly on some of those. But right now, there isn't necessarily a need.
This is wasn't the, if we had so much carryover, they were gonna give us,
Yeah.
okay.
So one of the things that did go through though is they increased the authority of the county budget commission, like we had talked about previously. So what we've been advised by a lot of state organizations is to have a plan on why we have some of the money that we do have. So with what Alex said with this capital plan, we would be able to submit that of, hey, we have 60-day or 60% carryover, and this is why. We need that funds in the next 5 years to do this plan and this plan. So.
Alex, if you want to, since this is the first time this has been recorded
Yeah.
and have it up on the screen, do you want to talk through any of the images?
Sure. Yeah.
And what that means? Because I think if you talk over it, I think it'll help
Yeah.
bring some clarity to the audience.
Yeah. So, okay, yep, this is the start of it. So this front page right here that I know is kind of difficult for you all to see is the line by line description of all the revenue and the expenditures that the district has. So it's broken down by personnel. On the expenditure side, it's broken down by personnel, benefits, purchase services, supplies, materials, capital outlay. And so you can see from year to year what those changes have been. Some of them have increased, some of them have decreased over time. But even in this middle column, you can kind of see the trend of the expenditures or the trend of our revenues. So up top, it starts with revenues. I kind of skipped over that. Those are fairly stable for the most part, and a lot of times out of our control, outside of, having additional levies or different things like that. But on the expenditure side, that's really where, the district is able to make decisions that ultimately impact what we're projecting in the future. Down here at the bottom, this is where it's towards the bottom. It's the last spot that we really have data is the cash balance carryover. And it just shows, where we're projecting our general fund balance to be at the end of the fiscal year. There's several or lots of explanation in between, but I'm just gonna jump down to some of the images. So the first image here is our general fund revenue, expenditures, and cash balance. So you'll see that our revenue is going up over time, but so are our expenditures. And towards the later part of the forecast is when our expenditures start to exceed revenues, which then dips into our cash balance. Looking at this pie graph, here is a breakdown of our estimated revenues for the current fiscal year. So you'll see that we have 67.5% in local sources and 32.5% in local or in state sources. So the local is made up of real estate taxes and income taxes. And then the state is made up of our foundation and then other state sources as well. And then jumping down to the expenditure side. there's a description of each individual line from that first chart. That talks about each line, line 2.040, all of those, but then going to the expenditures. Here, you'll see that, we have estimated operating expenditures for fiscal year 26 of 19,787,000. 49.7% comes from wages, 22.8% comes from benefits, 10% other. That's not very descriptive for the audience at times. I know we talked about that previously. But capital is just some of our different improvements that we have throughout the district, or capital expenditures, which are items with a useful life of 5 or more years. So at times, and I think within this forecast, we have the purchase of a school bus built into that. And so, that's one of our expenditures. And then materials is really just supplies. And then services is one of the things that I know I've talked about previously with the school board. And a large portion of that is different purchase services that we have, which is some of the services that we purchased in ESC, like our preschool or our primary and secondary units. But then there's also PT and OT and speech and, several other things that are really built into services. And so what we've kind of talked about at times too previously is that, wages and benefits typically make up the largest majority of school districts' expenditures. And when we're at around 72%, 73%, it's really actually probably closer to 80% when you think of the purchase services that we have with the educational service centers. And that's really in line with other districts statewide. And so, ultimately the staffing is what, that's the business we're in, is, having teachers to educate students. And so, when you see that, it definitely makes sense, but and then I don't know if there's any more pictures.
I think the unencumbered cash balance
Yeah.
and true cash days, explain that.
Yeah. Is that down? Right.
That was
Okay,
good.
so ending unencumbered cash balance and true cash days. So what this really means is that it's the amount of days that the district can continue to operate if we receive no additional funding. And so where we're at in fiscal year 26 is 219 cash days on hand. And then towards the end of the forecast, you'll see FY 2030, we're still projected to be at 157 cash days on hand.
And what's good?
120.
120 is
Yeah.
good.
Well, and I think that's where there's this whole wide range of opinions on that.
Mhm.
Whereas, there's some districts that say, well, we don't want to go below 120. And so then by the time they're reaching 120, then they're looking at going to the ballot. And so that's where there's definitely that balance of you can deficit spend a little bit, even looking at the end of this forecast, we're projected deficit spend in fiscal years 28, 29, and 30. Which another reason that they changed the length that you needed to do the forecast from 5 to 3 was because the data that we have for fiscal years 29 and 30 isn't great. We're kind of running with the assumption that our state funding remains consistent because the state does a biennial budget, which is 2 years, we can't project out much further than that. And so that's why, they don't always, the state doesn't always like, looking at fiscal year 30, because when we're deficit spending by $3 million, If you've looked at our forecasts historically, you'd see that, 5 years ago when we were looking at fiscal year 26, they were probably projecting for us to deficit spend by $2.5 million. But now we're projecting it to be $1 million cash carryover. So, that's kind of going off on a little tangent a little bit, but, really, looking at the cash days on hand, at minimum, you want 120 days cash on hand. So we're sitting in a very nice financial position, that kind of gives the board some flexibility to,
Yeah, and I think when they came up with information for that budget bill where they were going to put people at, the average was around that 50%. And we're right there we're closer to 60. We were like 58 or 59%. So we're close to where that state average would be.
So that 50% would probably be closer to 180 days or 185 days.
Anybody
Any further?
have any other questions? Sorry to bore you all. Hopefully that wasn't boring, but I think it's important to understand what these reports mean. And since this is the first time we've gone through the 5-year forecast on a recording, I think it's important to step through what this data really looks like. Because if Amanda's looking at this, some of it's, over my head and trying to make it more within reach to everyone who's looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, if nothing else, roll call, please.
Wes Kinder,
Yes.
John Barrera,
Yes.
Jake Coverstone,
Yes.
Pam Rice.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed. And that is all for the treasurer's report.
All right, superintendent consent agenda.
All right, we have 4 items for consideration tonight. We have 2 of our College Credit Plus agreements. We have approval of membership with OHSAA for 26-27, and then a 6th grade field trip to Camp Joy next October 26th.
We have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent consent agenda.
I should move.
All right, so with the College Credit Plus agreements, Clark State is one that we offer some classes on campus for. With the Sinclair, a lot of our Sinclair classes are offered online or at Sinclair campus. Most of our kids take them online. Both of the agreements are their standard agreements that they have with all the other schools. OHSAA, every year they ask us to recertify our membership and to recertify what sports we are going to have for that following year. So that's what that portion is on there for. And then again, our 6th graders have enjoyed going to Camp Joy, and just want them to be able to continue that option.
Any questions? Roll call.
Jake Coverstone,
Yes.
Les Kinder,
Yeah.
John Barrera,
Yes.
Pam Rice.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Moving to the personnel consent agenda.
All right, so this is a lengthy one tonight. We have 19 items on there for consideration. We have our monthly certified and classified substitutes, supplemental contracts. They are for our musical positions and for tutoring for the elementary. Certified salary step adjustments per negotiated agreement. It's that time of the year where we have the mid-year adjustment for master's classes. Approval of some intermittent military leave, hiring of an elementary reading intervention and high school secretary position, modified retirement date for Cindy Hirsch, 3 letters of resignation, retirement of Susie Weber, and 4 unpaid leave requests and 4 FMLA requests.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the personnel items? I so move.
All right, so a couple of things on there. Miss Weber has been with the district for 32 years teaching junior high science. Knew it was a possibility she might retire this year, and she came and saw me last week, made it official. So we want to thank Miss Weber for her dedication to Miami East. 32 years in one district is a very long time, and we appreciate appreciate all that she has done for Miami East in our district. So, again, wanted to thank her for that. As far as, the other pieces on there, so I said earlier when we made the amendment to our to the agenda for this evening that we added, item S on there. The board is aware and so is our staff, and some of you may be as well, but this year, in December, I applied for the superintendent position at Northmont City Schools for next school year and went through an interview process with them and was board approved and signed a contract with Northmont last night at their board meeting. So what that will be is I will be continuing to be the superintendent through July 31st. That's what the resignation date would be on there. And as I've told the board and told our staff, I'm going to continue to make decisions that I think are in the best interest of our district moving forward. That's why, you know, we heard the feasibility assessment and that plan this evening. Some of those things we think are in the best interest of our students. We're continuing to move forward with those. So I appreciate the opportunity. It hadn't been too long since I was in this room with a crowd about like this. Ask me rapid fire interview questions. Isn't that right, Ms. Campbell? So, you know, I appreciate, you guys having me here and this opportunity. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot, made a lot of mistakes, and appreciate the support that this community has given me over these last 3 years. So thank you.
Questions, further discussion?
I think I've said this before, but I just wondered, and maybe I haven't, I don't know, if we've ever done exit interviews. It just seems to me like we've got, over the last few years, we have a lot of resignations. And I'm just curious as to why that's happening, if there's something we can do. You know, some things that we need to know that we need to do as a school district to keep our students. Just curious about that.
Yeah, as we've talked about, it's something we haven't done traditionally. It's something that, you know, we've talked about that I'd be interested in doing. I've talked to, you know, people that are resigning that are on here this evening and have been. I've talked to them all about different things, but as far as a survey, I have not done that.
Just curious, we need to, when we get this great staff in, we need to work really hard to keep them. And in order to do that, we need to know why some of these, you know, why are they leaving?
Yeah.
See if we can't make it better, fix it.
Yep.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Pam Rice.
Yes.
Russ Snyder.
Yes.
John Marietta.
Yes.
Jake Coverstone.
Yes.
Min Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. We don't have any old business for this month, but we do have a couple of new business items. Last month, we went over what the calendar survey results had shared. If you remember what the survey results had discussed, it was that basically the number one choice for everybody was they wanted a 2-week break at Christmas time, wanted to be out by Memorial Day, and then the third option was a week-long spring break. Where we start at in the school year, it's pretty difficult to be able to get a week-long spring break and have those other options. So I know, you know, Ms. McHouston, Ms. Stevens, and I used that data. We went through the calendars and we think that we developed a pretty good calendar. Both of them are very reflective of this year. Again, if you remember, the fair is a week later next year. So is Memorial Day. So school would be a week later during those time periods as well. One of the questions that came up was that, what about the November date? You know, we've been off the last several years for the November election. The building we use for that is the board office. And right now we have 2 preschool classrooms in the board office. So part of the reason why we don't have a couple thousand people in that building and still have school, was to protect our preschool students. Next year, the ESC has a plan of doing a consolidated preschool. Sorry, Dave, if I wasn't supposed to say that, but I think it's been out there. They're planning on doing a consolidated preschool in Troy. So those two, we do not anticipate having students in the building next year. So in primary elections, we've done that before where we moved our high school students to the back parking lot. opened up parking space in the front. So that's kind of the plan when we were looking at that with this. So that PD date that we've had in November, we actually moved it to the last Friday in October is where that PD date would go. So. Like I went a little early on the discussions on that one.
That's okay. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028 school year calendars?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
John Ferrera,
Yes.
Lance Kinder,
Yes.
Jake Coverston,
Yes.
Pam Rice.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, next item we have on there is about a transportation request that we have received to transport some students to Miami Montessori School. That's why that's on there, and I'll wait for the discussion here in a minute.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the transportation and practicality determination to transport 3 in-district students to Miami Montessori School?
I so moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so discussion on that. Part of our state requirements for transportation is if we have a student that attends a school outside of, that's in our district, that attends a private school or a chartered school, and it's within 30 minutes of door to door of our building to their house for transportation, then we are responsible for some transportation. And this family does live within that. The reason we're determining it's impractical is we do not have available drivers to pick them up when their school day starts and when their school day ends. So we do not have the resources to transport the 3 students.
So what happens when we,
So the next step on that is 2 things. So what the state says we have to do is if we determine it's impractical, it's got to be a board action to determine or to uphold that it is impractical. And then I'll be working with the family on what's called a payment in lieu of transportation. The state puts out every year what the payment would be for that. So I'll be working with the family on a payment in lieu of, since we don't have the resources to get them there and home.
What happens if the family doesn't agree with the payment?
They have options with that. So there's an appeal process through the state that they could go through on that as well.
any further discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Pam Rice.
Yes.
John Ferrera,
Yes.
Jake Coverston,
Yes.
Lance Kinder,
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Third item on there is for a daily substitute bus driver. We want to make a request that we start bringing somebody on here in March for a daily basis.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the posting of a substitute bus driver?
I so move. All right, so the posting that's on there, if you look at what we've approved for our substitutes over this past year, the pay rate would be what our daily sub rate of pay is for a substitute driver. Here's really where we are at. We've been pretty healthy for a little bit. We have one of our drivers that is on some leave, but is able to help periodically. Her leave is changing and she will be unable to help drive pretty soon. We have 2 employees who are going to be going on leave here in March, in the end of March. So we have 2 daily bus routes that we're going to need some people to drive for. When you look at our sub pool, if we lose one of our employees that's been able to help periodically, we have 1 sub who's able to work 5 days a week, morning and afternoon. We have another sub who's available 2 days a week, again, morning and afternoon, because of another job that he has. And then we have a 3rd sub that we've gotten this year that works at another district and subs for us after his shift. So he's able to work in the afternoon. So, if you look at all of that and we start looking at 2 of our drivers are going to be out for probably the remainder of the year at the end of March, without bringing somebody on now, it might be pretty difficult to fill those routes. So. And I know we had this position last year, for a little while, so it's just trying to bring that back.
So this is just between now and the end of this. school
This would
year?
be between now and the end of the year, and then, I'd like to revisit it again, for next school year. Drivers, the hard thing is to get a substitute driver. You don't just have to have your CDL, you have to have your passenger license as well. So it's not just a real quick process to get somebody in. So again, I know every school district seems to be trying to find creative ways to get substitutes. So again, if any of you are interested in learning how to drive a bus, let us know. We will train you on that. So.
Wow.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Steve Coverstone,
Yes.
Les Kinder,
Yes.
John Barrera,
Yes.
Pam Rice,
Yes.
Regina Hall,
Yes.
motion passed.
So the next item on the agenda, we kept it relatively vague, but it's really to partner with the Board of Education on looking for our next superintendent. So we have 3 presentations tonight that we're looking at about 10 minutes, per presentation, if we can. And we're going to be starting with K-12. So
Careful, Dan.
Well,
I
thank
want you to
so
trip on our
much for
cable.
allowing us to present this evening. I'm Deb Campbell. You recognize Dan Koffenbarger. He was your interim for a while
Thank you.
until we got Eric on board. We brought you a little packet that shows you the PowerPoint that we have, and we'll go through it as quickly as we can. You can ask questions at any time. We put in there is a brochure that we used the last time that we did the search. We put in there the profile that we created for you the last time we did the search. And then the last item in there is about our company and what each search level is that we offer. Okay? It's an honor to be here to work with you, and I'm going to let Dan talk a little bit about K-12.
If Alex, you can advance that next slide, please. This just tells us tells you a little bit about the business model they use. They don't advertise a great deal. We primarily go by word of mouth, client referrals, and Miami East would be repeat business. They've got 22 years doing searches. The company was established by Chris Moore. They currently have 24 consultants, and they are currently involved in doing 4 searches right now: Urbana, Graham, and Huber Heights. And maybe Huber Heights.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's one up north,
Okay.
southern central. I don't even know where that is, but so you can go to the next slide. We have a 6-step process that we've used. We've used it since 2001. We learn about who you are looking for as your next leader. We produce a superintendent search profile, and I gave you a copy of that profile in your packet. It basically, for your district, we held focus groups and we did questionnaires, and we asked people who they were looking for, what kind of characteristics in their next superintendent, what was good about this school district, and there was a lot of good about this school district. It was easy to market. And then also, what were challenges that the new superintendent was going to face. We also then go out and actively recruit for the people that you say that you're looking for. And then we manage your interview process. I know Pam and Amanda are free. They know what this is. This is our interview notebook that we give you that. So you can just look at it. It helps you keep organized for the interview process. And then we help you in negotiating the contract. Okay.
So the people would be leading your search would be myself as a lead consultant, and then Deb Campbell would be coming in to help.
Excellent.
In terms of my years of experience, I've got 45 years in the K-12 world. I am currently serving as the interim superintendent at Tri Rivers Career Center in Marion. And we'll be doing that till the end of this year. I was an ESC superintendent for a number of years and did superintendent searches during that time. Deb has 42 plus
Probably
years.
more than that, but I don't like to. I'm just gonna be honest.
As superintendent and assistant superintendent and is well respected in the business. So I think you'd be in capable hands.
So we always do a slide that says, why should you hire us? Well, we stick with you from the very beginning of the search till you've hired your new hire. Our 6-step process that we use is a proven process. We even went through COVID and did our process, and it was still successful. Our process does a lot of staff and community engagement. We do that by questionnaires, focus groups, and then we write that search profile that's 10 to 15 pages. It's in your packet, and you can see that what we do is we listen very carefully to what people are telling us. And then we hear consistent themes that we identify first. And then we break that down by what board members said they were looking for, what administrators said they were looking for. Every group gets their own section in that profile. We do actively recruit. We don't just depend on the job posting to get the right candidate to the table. We have made lots of matches over those many searches we've done, and most of those people stay, unlike Eric, our good friend, but we didn't recruit him. You know, we do tell you, we won't recruit your superintendent for 5 years, but somebody else knew the talent and recruited him. The next slide, we also make sure that we reduce your risk. Dan has a lot of connections. I have a lot of connections. We don't just call people who are on the application to do the reference checking. We dig down deep so that we know the people, and we're not bringing you someone that you would be, be ashamed of or embarrassed by. And then we help you with the interview, and you can see from the interview notebook, we help you with all the questions. And we base that a lot of times on what we've learned in those profile meetings. First round interviews are scripted questions. Second round interviews, the candidates need to tell you how they're going to address 3 issues that you say are important to you. So they're going to have to present to you. And then we do help you negotiate the contract. We don't want a problem between you and your new superintendent. If your new superintendent says, well, could you ask Les, tell him I want a car? And we're gonna say, it's not gonna happen to the candidate. Then he's just gonna say, well, the board give me a car. And we know Les is saying, you're not getting a car. So we're gonna tell him or her, that's not a realistic ask. So that's a little bit about why we think we're a company that you would enjoy working with.
So in your packet, you have the superintendent profile that K-12 developed during the last search. We had consistent themes during that search and from the subgroups that attended. And Alex, you go to that next slide. Those are the groups highlighted, the board, administrators, teachers, your support staff, parent and community, and students are the groups that we will engage with during the process. And we ask them the same 3 questions. The 2 or 3 most significant strengths, 2 or 3 issues that are facing the district, and then at least 3 characteristics that you're looking for in your new superintendent. And again, that consistency gives us data across all of the subgroups representing the district.
And that really helps us with recruiting. We know who you're looking for, so we can go out and find that person. The next thing we would say is that we help you message, because your messaging is very important during your superintendent search. You need a consistent message going to your community about what this search is doing, how transparent it is. That's critically important to the people sitting here. We do recruit, we're relentless recruiters, I will say that. Even when somebody tells us no, we ask them 10 more times until we get them to say yes. But you are in control of the search. You give us the guidelines and you see every candidate that applies and you decide who you want to interview and who you want to hire. All we do is make that framework for you to work within. Sometimes a district asks us to customize a little bit. We did the Oakwood search. They wanted special things in their search, so we can customize if that's what you want.
The next slide is about the idea that one size doesn't fit all. So different districts have different needs, and so we offer 3 basic levels. We offer a bronze level, which would be minimal community and stakeholder engagement. The search that you did with K-12 the last time for Eric was the silver level. So there was community engagement at the beginning of the search. There was community engagement at the end. And then there's the gold level, which is very high level community and stakeholder engagement. So again, we think that the silver level would suit you fine. And Deb, you can go over what that calendar looks like.
Yeah, I just think that a district like your district definitely would not need a gold level search. And because you did a search 2 years ago, you may want to think about a bronze search. But those are things that you as a board need to decide. A good search takes about 3 months. So we would start in late February, early March. And you can see that we would develop that brochure that you have a sample of. We would have those in focus groups. If you choose a silver search, we would do all the staff and community engagement. We would announce your position probably after we had that first meeting with you to organize the search. We said mid-March because we don't know what your calendars look like. We would recruit in March and April. Early May, you would do interviews. By mid-May, you would have 2 to 3 candidates. And then on the next slide, it shows you that by mid-May, you could hire your new superintendent. We always recommend a transition period. So Eric is leaving, your new superintendent is coming. We recommend that you give that new superintendent a consulting contract to work 5-10 days, meeting board members, meeting staff, working with Eric so that it's a smooth transition. And then they would start August 1. So that's a little bit about us. I don't know if you have any questions for us, but it would be an honor for us to get to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I think Ohio School Boards Association is next. Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe, I don't have.
I do. Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's great.
I think we would have a social agent. So, we kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I don't. He's provided some minutes.
You're awesome. He's good. What's out there?
Himself. I think it was, everything went to the board president. They didn't miss the yesterday, they just themselves out.
Well, good evening and thank you for having the Ohio School Boards Association present tonight on our superintendent search services. My name is Quinn Maseko. I'm a board and management services consultant with the Ohio School Boards Association. I'm a former school board member and alongside three colleagues that are also former school board members. We've all been in your seat before, looking for a new superintendent and going through the search process. So thank you for just allowing for us to be here and talk about what we do in our timeline and our service here and what we can do for Miami East local schools and finding that next superintendent. So I'll begin tonight just talking about the general process and timeline. That first step would be the planning meeting with the Board of Education. And that planning meeting is where we come together and be drafting the timeline for what our important dates are, when we would have our recruiting period, when we would have our screening meeting together with the Board of Education, and also the interview nights as well, and the day for focus groups that we would have here in the district too. Also during that time, we would hear from you all as the Board of Education and developing that profile that you would like to see the qualities in that next superintendent here for Miami East local schools. Whether that would be something with the organization or communication, energy, any of those types of things that you all are looking for in their position as well. And also talking about what you see currently are your successes as a district, where you're going forward, and some of the history and future priorities for Miami East local schools. When we come out of that planning meeting, we'll go ahead and open the posting for the position, and then also start drafting a brochure that is customized to your school district. And our brochures are in full color. This is just a sample of one of them as well. It's not with you there, but it's very descriptive on the community, also the school district. Just a good teaser for those applicants to know about what's going on here in Miami East local schools. In addition to that, it also has some statistics on there as well for your district on finances, and also your staffing makeup and any other demographic data that you'd like to applicants to know about your student body. It also utilizes pictures of your district as well, facilities, staff, students in there, so then they can also see what's kind of going on with those programs, and also done in your school colors, and utilizes that school logo that you have. Once that is drafted and that language is done, that would be difficult for me today, but it likes to be difficult. It's going to be, but I'm going to have Alex press the next one then, because it wants to be difficult. Thank you. Then we'll design that final brochure for you all, send over that language, make sure it looks prettied up and everything good for you, and then that'll be attached to that job posting after that. Once that's done, and then we'll have that day of focus groups that'll be here in the district. If there's many focus groups that you all would like to have seen done, whether it's broken down by certified staff, classified staff, you want to have maybe 170 bus drivers, 170 custodians, aides, or lump them all together, students, parents, booster members. We always end the day with an all-call community, which could be anybody that might have missed an earlier one to come that evening to also talk about, and also welcome in anybody from the district as well to discuss those things. Also one for your administrative team as well throughout the day. In addition to that, we offer what we like to call a virtual focus group, which would be a survey for those that might not be able to attend in person. That would be open for a couple weeks, and we would capture that data and take any of those comments and send those over to you all to see that. A focus group report is also developed from the in-person day as well, from any comment that is made by those groups, and also listing out those consistent themes that are also set across all groups as well. Then that we're in that heavy period of recruitment and marketing of the position. Typically, it's about 5 or 6 weeks is what we do for that timeline. And we are in the hooks of our administrative database that we have at OSBA. We have over 3,000 administrators that we are in contact with. We work with over 700 school districts here in the state of Ohio. So immediately we're consistent on making sure that it's in their inbox. They know the position's open. It's been officially launched. This is going on, the deadline's approaching, fielding phone calls about the position, making sure it's out there and casting the widest net as possible. We'll hit that closing date for applications. Then after that, we'll have our internal screening committee. We'll review all of your applications, which is our 4 consultants on our team. And then we will craft that feedback, and also the portal will open to you all on our Rebellis website, the software that we use to collect applications as well. So you'll be able to start going through and seeing who's applied, what attachments they have sent in when it comes to cover letter, resume, and also answers to some application questions as well. Then we'll come together in that screening meeting where the board and the consultant, myself, will come in and we'll review those candidates, hear your feedback, present our feedback that we have on there. We rate our candidates in a 1, 2, 3, 1 being the best fit based on that profile you all set out at the beginning of the planning meeting for the district, and then get down to those 6 or 8 you'd like to see interviewed for the first round. Those first round interviews are about 50 to 60 minutes each. They are scripted interviews with questions that are based upon that search profile that you all started out with that planning meeting. Once you went through those couple nights of interviews, then you'll select those finalists and let me know. And we'll get into a period where we'll have reference checking and also achiever testing, which is a leadership assessment we give all the finalists to. References are compiled list between forwarded and non-forwarded references for each of the finalists. So you all have a mixed bag of those to call. And we also offer a script for you all to handle those reference calls in that period. Also during that time, we already include a process for them to have a background check done for each of the finalists. So that you already know ahead of time before you get to that second round that, hey, there's a flag on something from those finalists. You know, just make you aware, you know, if we need to say it's time for them to maybe step out of the process or how that handles from that time. We get to that second round. That second round is typically a little more of a lengthier night because usually boards like to involve their community and staff in those evenings as well. Whether that is a town hall type style where it's with involving both groups together in one room, separating into one room for staff, one room for community. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the Board of Education because you all are the ones that are making the decision on who to hire as well. So typically those nights usually will look at about 30 to 45 minutes there with that town hall style, and then about 60 to 75 minutes with the Board of Education that night. That second round, we also ask them to have a presentation ready on their first 90 days for what they would do with the district as well. What would they look at? What would they analyze? How would they get to meet stakeholders? How would they get to get acclimated with the district and the staff? Once that's done, then you all will deliberate later that night after the second round interviews and go forth and offer a contract and negotiate that with that finalist. You take action to employ, and then the new superintendent will begin that transition and employment later on with you all here at Miami East Local Schools. We also include in our superintendent search a new leadership team workshop that's valued at $1,000 typically for districts on a standalone, where we would come in and we could work on some roles and responsibilities with this new person, do some goal setting around some of the critical issues and priorities at the focus groups, and also you all outline for the district during the beginning of the process. So what sets us apart is we are exclusive to being a part of a group called the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searchers, which is called NAS. It's our national group that has the most experienced consultants when it comes to searches, and just casts that wider net for you all. Most likely you're going to find your candidates here within an hour, hour 15 of your district, but it just is somebody might have left Ohio when you look, we come back to Ohio there, or maybe has family in Ohio that need to move here from out of state. That post is all sent out to those 39 state school boards associations that utilize that group. The Achiever, as I said, is a leadership assessment that is offered to the finalists here in the process. It evaluates them on benchmarks set by superintendents for things like organization, energy level, when it comes to some of their logical thinking as well. It just helps you get a little bit into how they process issues and how they go forward with that. It also offers some behavior-based interview questions that you can utilize during that second round interview, and also some goal areas that they might have when it comes to some professional development too. I've taken that just to see how it is. On the other side of it, it does test 6 mental aptitudes and performance skills that'll be analyzed, and you'll see a very detailed report that comes from there as well. And then Revelis is our online application platform that is used by 15 other state school boards associations. Anytime we have a posting, it goes onto their Revelis website too. So it's just another wider net that's there. And many of those states are Midwest states. So, you know, we're close to it. We get closer to Indiana here. Might be someone that might want to jump across the border, might look at a position here in Ohio if they have the matching licensure requirements here for Ohio. But I like to think of Revelis kind of like Facebook, because You just create your own profile as a candidate, you upload all of your attachments on there, you answer the application questions that are there as well, provide that salary request, upload your licensure, transcripts, and then once that's all done and set up, they would put the Miami East Local Schools box and then boom, goes right into that portal. And then that portal opens up to you all once we hit that closing date of applications for you to look at everything that they have submitted in that profile. And you guys will submit not submit. You will set up your own profile so you can look at that application material. Just a more efficient way where it's not binders and binders of paper when it comes to applications that you have to comb through and that. It's all right there at your fingertips. You can take individualized notes that only you can see on there as well. And just allows for you to have a more efficient process before we get you that screening meeting together. We also, as I mentioned earlier, we offer background checking for finalists. So whether you have 2 or 3 finalists there at the final round, we utilize Baker Eubanks, who's a great company to work with. That goes through and makes sure, checks everything when it comes to civil, criminal, traffic violations, education credentials, where they went to college, if they had their licensure, all those types of things. Just another added layer. Hopefully not the National Terrorist Watch or sex offender list that they'll hit, but it is checked. It always is. Make sure that's done. Those reports are forwarded to the lead consultant, which would be myself, and I would notify you if there would be any red flags that would pop up from that. That is included in that search cost for you all as well. Community and staff involvement, as I mentioned already, focus groups are important for us to hear from what the staff community are seeing and wanting in that next superintendent. Also the model of having them involved in that second round interview. And then at the end of the day, including your greater administrative team in that post-appointment new leadership team workshop, so they can kind of learn and get to know that new superintendent to help set some goals for the next school year. And as always, if you sign a contract with us, we are here until you appoint a next permanent superintendent. So if you went through the whole process and you went to the second round and you said, you know what, none of these are still cutting the mustard for us, we want to go forth and open up again, we'll be here until you go all the way to a next permanent superintendent. We will help assist with an interim superintendent and place one here as well. But know that we will be here as you're one of our members until we get the job done and we find that next permanent superintendent for Miami East Local Schools. You've been a member of us for 63 years. We're always here to invest and see your continued success as public school district here in Ohio. And I'd ask that you helpfully consider us and choose OSBA in helping you assist in your next superintendent search. And I welcome any questions or comments.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah, for the cost,
It was on a sheet.
yeah, I got it,
Okay.
9,500 plus
So the expense
expenses.
plus expenses.
What's the
Yeah,
average
expenses?
expenses?
All it is mileage. So mileage
Okay.
from the office in here, which I believe,
Give it down
I
here.
think,
so
I think we're
it's
today like
$2,000.
$125, if that. So that's it. And then be operating every visit be 125. So total, you're probably out the door.
Right.
I would say about 10,200.
Okay.
Because there's different prices on different things down here as it goes. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, you said, 95 plus expenses, right down here, you got like $2,000 per day on certain things, you got other things here with.
That's an additions, right? So
Yeah.
if you're talking about the
So that's
additional
that-
focus
that's-
group day, well, that's if you choose to do a second day of focus groups. You're already included in one full day. But if you would say, you know what, we want to spend here a second full day here of focus groups, then that would be an additional $2,000.
So if we don't like what we got and we go back again, is that the same?
Nope.
That's still the same price? You
What?
still- you
It's still the same price as the 9,500.
Right,
yes.
so we have to pay that again, or,
No, you would not pay the 9,500 again.
okay,
The 9,500 is just the standard price.
Right.
If you go through the whole process, we're not gonna charge you another penny of the 9,500 again if we go forth and reopen the position later on.
Which schools around here have you helped with?
Currently in Western Ohio, last year, went to, Terry actually did Greenville City schools, which is, I know is further west of here as well. We've done a little more northwest. I'm currently doing one in Allen East local schools too. So we've been spending a lot. I know you guys are right in the border of our regions between northwest and southwest there. But we also have a list of references there as well.
Yeah, that's part of it in your packet.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, finally, Miami County E ESC.
Thank
Thank you.
All right, yep.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we,
They can use your clicker.
You fill that comment.
So, have an executive summary that's gonna go over, a lot of it's gonna be in the presentation, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'm gonna tell you pretty much the same stuff that they said in terms of what the process is gonna be like, so. But I did a really pretty presentation, so we're gonna go through it still. If you go with K-12 or you go with OSBA, you're gonna be happy. They're gonna do a great job for you, and we will work with them. So just so you guys know, so. I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Quinn.
Quinn?
Quinn.
Quinn. So as Quinn said, they haven't done a lot of searches in this area, but they do a lot of searches throughout the state. K-12 has done a lot around here, and Deb Campbell calls me all the time when they're doing a search and asks, you know, hey, do you know if somebody else is interested? Do you, what do you know about this person and that kind of stuff? So we, as an ESC, as your partner, we'll work with whoever ends up with the searches, if it's us or if it's one of those other organizations. So I'm Dave Larson. I think I know everybody here. Feels like I was just here. So we'll dive in. Go ahead. So I think one of the things that, and I'm not standing with my back here, but we have some employees back here, and I don't want anybody throwing anything at me. So I think what potentially could set us apart in this process is it's us, it's our team, the Miami County ESC doing the work, doing the search. So it's very customizable to what you guys want to see done with the process. Very similar to the strategic planning process. We're gonna meet, we're gonna have conversations, we're gonna get an idea of how much time you want to spend on it, what you want the process to look like. This is a board search, this is a Board of Education decision. So we want it to be something that you all are comfortable with and that you feel like we're able to help you find the right fit for the next superintendent. Transparency is super important. We will help you guys communicate with your community along the way so people know what's going on and where you are in the process. And I think really, I think talking about the timeline of the process is important. Timeline is really important right now because K-12 just mentioned the 4 searches that they're doing. We know that there are some other ones in the area that are being conducted by their own boards of education. So moving quickly is kind of important. So we'll kind of talk about what that timeline can potentially look like here today. So I mentioned that customized process, recruitment power. We will advertise we'll partner with OSBA. They'll let us use their website to advertise, the Buckeye Superintendent Association. We'll advertise in those places on our website. It is very, very much word of mouth, the process. It is me sending the flyer out to all of our neighboring ESCs for them to send out to their districts. I think I've passed on probably 4 superintendent searches to our superintendents and just said, hey, send this to building principals who are interested, or central office folks who are interested in superintendent positions. Please share that. So, and I'll call people, I'll recruit people. I will be honest, I don't recruit people unless I think they're a good fit and that they're gonna like working here. So, I want to be really careful about my relationships with my colleagues out there. So when I go through the process to actively recruit people, it's because I think it's somebody who would be a good fit for you guys and you guys would be a good fit for them. The vetting process, we'll go ahead, we'll talk more about what that's going to look like. So this is just a sample timeline. I think we could do it in 2 months. It's going to mean that we're going to have to get cracking though. So the initial phase would really need to start right at the very beginning of March. so that we can start the recruitment process in March. So spending the month of March in recruiting, and you guys can see that. I'm gonna talk more specifically about these phases, so go ahead. So the first phase is planning and recruitment, developing a candidate profile, just like the others talked about. That's a really important part of the process. We'll gather input from stakeholders. I will say this again, and I'll probably say it a couple more times. This is the Board of Education's search process. And it's very important that you guys are leading in this process of the candidate profile of what you guys are looking for in helping to lead this district moving forward. We'll develop our timeline and identify folks that we want to have included in the process for different interviews. Then we'll initiate the recruitment process. Like I said, ideally towards the beginning of March here, and use all the resources we have to recruit. But application review and screening. So we will collect all of the application materials. We'll have them sent, emailed to me, and my secretary and I will put that together. I will say, I am also transitioning out of this job into another job. I will be here through the summer though. And I'm also going to include my successor in this process. So they've already named the next superintendent. Bethany Whidden is going to be taking over as the Miami County ESE superintendent. And so I've asked if she would participate in this with me. So she hasn't done one before. So that way she can kind of get a feel for the process. And also with the new person coming on board, one of the last slides we'll talk about is that ongoing support. I think one of the things that's value added from an ESE standpoint is the fact that we're here continuing to work with superintendents and district administrators. So we'll collect all the materials, we'll put those together. We'll share that. One of the things that I have found has been pretty valuable is it's a 3-week process, and a lot of times people don't want to wait the whole time to find out. And so what I've done in the past is I have done a weekly summary of who has applied with just a little bit of bio about who they are. So that way you guys kind of know who all has expressed interest at that point in time. Then that's what I'll provide to you guys with. You'll have all the packet of information for all the candidates, but then I'll have a little bit of a quick summary of each of them, of what their experience is, maybe what their connections are to this area, if they're from outside this area, and provide that to you guys during that initial phase of the screening process. And then you guys will get a chance to take a look at them and make a decision on who you want to bring in. So first round interviews, I said 6 to 8 candidates. That may be a little on the high side. But the idea is that this is a general screening with a good number of candidates. And that's going to be the Board of Education and the treasurer, and then whoever else you guys want to include in that process. So there could be some optional interviews that other people will participate in and conduct with me facilitating, or you could invite more people into that. So it may be building principals or other administrators, leadership from your associations, whoever you would want to include in that initial phase. One of the things that is really super important in this process is whoever is included in this process, that they know what role they're playing in making a decision. Because I will tell you, one of the major pitfalls is opening up a superintendent search, inviting a bunch of people who are coming and giving their input and telling you, this is who we're going to rank these candidates, and this is who we want, and so on and so forth. And then that's not who you select. So as you go through this process, I think it's really important that you think a lot about how you want the process to go and who's involved and what their role is going to be in the decision-making process. And as you invite people in to participate in that, you're very clear about what those expectations are. Because you don't want a situation where you select a candidate and, there's a whole group of people out there saying, well, that's not who we wanted. That's not who we ranked as first. So we'll work through that process. We'll talk about how you avoid that and how you make sure you get input from folks, but avoid the pitfall of folks feeling like their voice was not heard or valued in the process. But So then we will narrow it down to a couple of finalists. That'll be a second round of interviews. That's the time where you may want to do some sort of community event where community members will get a chance to meet the candidates. Maybe a meet and greet, or maybe a more official question and answer process. A walk and talk where, you know, some administrators will give the candidates a tour and just get to know the candidate a little bit on a less formal level. And then at that point in time, when we get down to the 2 or 3 candidates, we'll do a more formal reference check process. So, you know, we'll more than likely, I'll know who the people are who are applying for the job, or know people, you know, who apply. But we will go through a formal process. We'll call their references and I'll call their ESC superintendent, their current superintendent somewhere, and we'll make sure that we know what's going on. And I like what he said about that. And you know, we do want to be careful. You know, especially if we cast a net that's a lot wider than the Miami Valley, West Central Ohio. That's the official geographic term for where we are, is West Central Ohio, I believe. West or north. You know, you want to be careful. Like you want to make sure that this person wasn't in the news for doing something in Cleveland. You know, those types of things are an important part of the process, and we'll be very thorough in how we do that. Go ahead. So sometimes we get to this point and we decide we don't have the right candidate. And we go back and we interview some more people. We bring some more people back for that second round interview. Sometimes you have to, you know, recast that net. Hopefully that's not the process, and hopefully that we are able to identify the right candidate, the right fit for Miami East. And I will work with the board on negotiating a contract with that person and bring that to the board for a final vote. So again, that's looking at a timeline of trying to do that by the end of April. May require a special board meeting in order to do that. I think it's doable, but like I said, I think it's going to be we're going to hit the ground running here. Good. That's phase. And this is kind of what I was talking about that I think is important for us to be a part of. So we don't charge to do this process, okay? And part of that is because we do a lot of business with you guys, and it doesn't cost us anything but my time and whoever else's time that is going to be working on it. Because it's really important to us that you guys get a good superintendent. It's very important to us that we have quality education in Miami County, that we have good partners who care about kids and who are doing good work for the staff and children in Miami County. So with that being said, you know, we didn't do the superintendent search when Eric was hired, but I hope Eric would validate the fact that we were a good resource for him, that we worked really closely together. We would do that with whoever gets this job. But what we could do in this process is help you guys with a public announcement, introductions to stakeholders outside of Miami School District 2. So stakeholders in the county, people, you know, people that you want to make sure this person gets to know. If there are, you know, civic groups and things like that you want the person to be involved in, we can do those introductions. And then one of the other ideas we talked about was helping the person put together like a 90-day plan to kick off their tenure as superintendent. So just some considerations as you go through this process. One of the things that we'll work on is kind of making sure that before we start really really working hard at the recruiting process of getting an idea of where this board is going to be contractually. They talked about a handful of searches that they're doing. There are a lot of superintendent jobs out there. So we need to talk about what you're going to need to do to be competitive in order to recruit quality candidates. So you don't have to make those decisions up front, but we have to have those conversations from the beginning. Are you open to somebody without any experience? Or do you want to limit your, is it important to have people with experience? Are you open to people who are rehires? Those types of conversations we're going to have at that very first meeting. And we'll start to kind of think about what will the compensation package look like So that way that will kind of determine, who applies for the job. Yeah. So yeah, it's a customizable process for you guys. It's important for us that we get a good superintendent here at Miami East. It can move as quickly or as deliberately as you guys want it to. But we would be happy to do it if you decide that it's better to go with another firm. Like I said, we'll work with them to make sure that it's that you guys are able to find a good superintendent. So questions?
Any questions for Dave?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah. Board committee reports. Anyone have anything to report?
Yeah, I attended the athletic booster meeting. That was a learning experience. But anyway, let's see, I got my notes back here. The athletic boosters met, Sunday, Mr. Schroeder decided I was the old man, but anyways, they talked about replacing the equipment here being used by other schools and how it's being wore out and not being accessible for our own kids. And they were talking about what they needed to do about that issue with coaches bringing other teams here using our facility. Then a couple things we brought up was communication. As I told them, there was a group of coaches sitting in that room. The only way to achieve the goals for our student athletes was communicate and talk and work together. Just like they talked about junior soccer with Junior Diamond Sports working together for the new facility out there. And I said, it's the only way you can progress forward is communicate. Just sitting in opposite corners of the room and saying, well, I should say this, or I should say that, say it. And communicate, because that's the only way we're going to move forward as a wonderful school district we are. And it was built on that years ago, and now it's got to get back to being built that way. We have to pull together and build forward for the athletics. And Mr. Neese, Coach Neese, I think, was there. And yeah, and I that was the biggest thing for the athletic boosters and the support of, the school district and the board. But like I said, communication was the biggest thing they talked about, and the idea of supporting the little kids sports and big kids sport, everybody supporting each other. And I think, as I said, we've got some great coaches here and they do a great job. And for the time that they involved in all that, they're trying to work out. So, and also make sure you get out there and support the athletic booster thing coming up and help support that, because that's what helps gets the kids their stuff too.
Well, I think that is being rescheduled because
Yeah.
it conflicted with the
school
musical.
play.
Yeah, and so I don't believe a new date has been proposed, right?
That's all I know of.
Yeah.
Mr., do you know if there's a new date on that? New date?
The fish fry.
For the fish fry.
I have no idea. Those ladies.
Oh, there you go. I was thinking, well, okay.
We've thrown around a new date, unfortunately, because we did reschedule with the musical. It's not gonna happen this school year. So we lost 2 venues over moving that date, and so just under timing and getting things around, it's probably gonna be pushed back to August, so we're waiting on a contract to get that. So we'll come back with that information when all that's in stone, I think, instead of maybe making another change.
Anyway, whenever they reschedule, jump in there and support, but that's what we talked about at that meeting.
Any other committee reports? All right, board members' comments. Les, you started, so you might as well keep going.
Great. First, I want to congratulate Mrs. Perry and the students for that wellness program that they started. I think that's a very wonderful program for the high school kids. It's another move forward for Miami East. Also get out there and support the wonderful students for the play. the quarter auction, Viking Fest, senior citizen dinner, thank you. The FFA Easter egg hunt, and, all the athletic events coming up tomorrow night. Let's fill the Proudwood School gym down there and support the girls, so they can kick Anna's butt. And along with the boys game when it comes up against Anna. And, also, I want to thank the bus drivers for the wonderful job they've been doing throughout these last couple weeks of this nice, beautiful weather. The roads the last couple days were really rough. My hat's off. I drove a bus for many years. I know what it is to drive one, so I appreciate all the work they do. And Mrs. Fine, I want to thank you for your personal opinion on books and everything and the support of the program, and welcome you to come and give us your opinion so we know where we stand up here, where we need to move forward on things. Thank you. Thank you and God bless. Next.
John?
Well, I think Les was looking at my notes.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Congratulations, girls basketball. I know they were conference champs. We have a young lady who qualified for state swim meet. Congratulations to her. Along with Mrs. Perry, I met Kylie and Maddie, who members of Hope Squad, and setting up the wellness room. And I think that's probably a perfect example of, I know in my years in education, I have seen so many great kids that if we don't use them, you waste their talents. And Hope Squad is a perfect example of letting the older ones be mentors, help out. And Kylie and Maddie and the others who are part of Hope Squad, I think that's a great way to use the talent that we have here. Also, want to thank Ms. Weber for her 32 years here as a junior high science teacher. And again, just excited to be a part of this group, and looking forward to that next step with the superintendent position, and working with everyone to get there.
I just want to thank the community, for everybody that reaches out and talks to the board. That's a good relationship to have. I know sometimes it's not easy, but if we aren't communicated to, then it's hard for us to represent the community. So thank you. All I got.
I think everything's pretty much been covered, but March is just packed full of any and every type of activity that you can think of. So I encourage you to show your spirit and your pride in Miami East and attend as many of those as you can.
To add on to everyone else's comments, just a few things, because I don't think we congratulated the National Honor Society inductees, but I believe that was done at the end of January, but post our last meeting, so just wanted to publicly acknowledge them. I know there's a lot of athletics coming, between wrestling, Cher still finishing up with swimming, hopefully a lot of basketball, left for the boys and the girls. But the junior high team saw success, this year. 8th grade boys were champs, 8th grade girls were runner-up. See a player over here. But I don't recall the 7th grade. Did the 7th grade, were they champs or runners?
No.
Okay. But importantly, we went through a lot of information on the personnel agenda. I think we all, collectively feel that. To say that the decision with Eric is, yes, we were aware, that, he was going through this process, but does that affect the district? You bet. I think it's critical that we jump into this next phase and, the 5 of us, figuring out who we're going to partner with the superintendent search. But there's going to be a lot of special meetings with the board, these next couple of months. And so anticipate that We look to partner with, I know we've got two of our building administrators here today being active, at least Amanda's opinion, in part of that process. But between the superintendent, we've got Mr. Upton, who is the operations director that also has put in his resignation. These are big changes, and we need to figure out from job descriptions, for the operations director, did we have that right? What was working, what was not, and getting those inputs so that we can find, a replacement. But it's gonna be a lot of work, and we're looking to partner with the community, the staff, the administration, as we, go through this process together. That being said, I know we're going into executive session, here to do a number of things. One, obviously with the superintendent search, all of us just heard presentations. If we come to a determination this evening, we'll see. But I know, we're drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, right now, but need to act quickly. But the other aspect of tonight's executive session is we have Alex's, annual performance review. So we're gonna be kicking off that process as well. So this could take a bit, just letting everyone know that don't anticipate, folks staying. You're more than welcome to. There's no votes coming in when we come back in session. But thank you all for coming. It's great to see the turnout this evening. I know it's important to all of you. And seeing the recording from the first time, I know there were challenges with the audio. We're not promising it's going to be perfect this time, but it clearly got a lot of views from the community. So you spoke, we heard, we're working through this, and we're going to continue making it better. So thank you very much. Do I have a motion and a second to move into executive session?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Wes Kinder,
Yeah.
Jake Coverstone.
Yes.
John Ferrera.
Yes.
Pam Wright.
Yes.
Amanda Howell.
Yes.
Motion passed. It is 8:12 p.m.
I'm gonna pause,
That's fine.
turn it off.
You can pause them.
I can pause the recording.